Yeah, yeah, wouldn't ends. We back with another one for the youths in them. Yeah, young, brilliant minds, future in sight. Got the power to make change, make the world ignite. Let nobody say you can't achieve. Your dreams are seeds, sow and just watch them grow. But you gotta believe in the youth effect. We're raising up the youth effect. Can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Educate, we get the key, unlock the potential. A lesson every day, knowledge essential. Standing tall, walking proud, let your voice be heard. Unite together as one, spread the love with every word. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Educate, we get the key, unlock the potential. A lesson every day, knowledge essential. Standing tall, walking proud, let your voice be heard. Unite together as one, spread the love with every word. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Create, initiate, push through, no limits. Go ahead and live it up. Respect, positivity, you on your way. Break down walls, build bridges. Yeah, the youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, can't hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. Never forget your home.
Another Monday. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and because we have lots of things to be thankful for. We woke up to see another day, and hopefully and thankfully our family is well. And in whatever thing we are, let's just give thanks. Yes. So go with that said. Let us be thankful for today. Today is another Monday, and we are thankful for our guest who is starting our series with us, another series on relationship with self. And what we'll be talking about today is doing it solo. Kiana Sanders, she is a travel enthusiast, very ambitious, calm young lady, and she has a little mysterious air about her, but she's cool. So we'll be talking into that and delving into how she does it, why she does it, giving us a little bit of tips on how we can do solo and the benefits of traveling or anything else, because in developing relationship with self, there is always a process that we have to go through and we need to go through. So she'll also be giving us a little bit of financial tips on how to do this. All right. And because a lot of times when we're doing things by ourselves, especially when we've never done it before, there is a level of fear because of the uncertainty and of all the possible things that can go wrong. How do we develop a positive mindset in going forward in the unknown and dealing with the level of uncertainty that traveling has? So we're going to welcome Kiana, and remember, you're looking at the youth effect, and you can see us on Facebook, also on YouTube, TDN Network 1, Facebook, on our Instagram page, and on Roku as well. All right, so be there to join us. And I believe right now we're also streaming live on my page. I hope it is fixed up. So welcome, and welcome, Kiana. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be with us on the Youth Effect. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Kiana, obviously. I'm a young traveler. I am now turning 21 just a few months ago. Yes, I have a drive for traveling. I love trying new things. I love adapting to different environments and just seeing what I can do with my life in the time being. And yeah, pretty much. Oh, and I love to dress and I love to shop.
Pretty much
Goes hand in hand.
you're old, yes. So where are the places that what brought you around to traveling?
I knew since I was younger that I always wanted to travel because New Jersey, as much as I love it from time to time, is just not a place I can stay. I don't like to stay stagnant for a very long time. I always need some sort of change in life. because
Mhm.
one thing about me, I don't like being too comfortable. So I said, what's something I can do which makes me have to adapt to different things? Because it was like, I can do it with fashion. You can change your hair, wig color, whatever every day. But I'm like, traveling, that's something that's like once in a lifetime. So I just picked traveling to do.
Also, there was no aha moment or particular significant point in your life or experience that triggered that for you to do traveling.
I would say for me, hmm, a pivotal moment for me was when my mom would take me and my sister down south on a road trip. And
Mm-hmm.
as you pass through different states, you go, wow, wait, we don't have this restaurant in Jersey, or we don't have this. So I'm like, how do these other places have this? And I don't know about it. So it was more like my mind became very curious. So I said, okay, I'm learning that there's a lot to explore in life.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And how long have you been traveling solo?
I've been traveling solo. Okay, I started off small. So I was like going to New York back and forth when I was about, I want to say 16 and 17. So I'm going to say 5 years ago, 4 to 5 years.
Okay. So you started with
Mhm.
the Big Apple. Was it inspiring
Yes,
you that say, okay, there is so much more to see because of what you saw in New York?
yes, because New York, it was like you can go to one small different city and see something totally different from where you just came from. So I said, okay, there's a lot more to explore in the world. And then I would also be on social media and I would see like people at the beach and it would be like very clear water. And I'm just like, I've never seen water that clear. I need to go and see that. So I still need to check that out and go out the country. So yeah.
There is Dominica. Remember, there is Dominica. We have 365 rivers, clear fountain, waterfalls, nice beaches. Put it on your agenda. So, in those 5 years, what is the portfolio you have put together?
Hmm. I haven't gone too far out just yet. So
Mm-hmm.
so far I've really been in the East Coast, like the Carolinas and stuff, and I'm working my way down south. I've been to Georgia, I've been to Florida a couple of times as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to go up north sometime soon. It's just that cold gets me every time, so it's like, ugh. But eventually, I know next year in April I'll be going to Colombia for sure.
Oh, nice, nice. And then how is your frequency of travel? How do you plan around your life? Or, I mean, okay, that is your life, but how do you plan it? Because everything has to be scheduled and to fit your working life as well, your home life, your other social aspects of your life. How do you work it around it?
So what I try to do is I love planning. So I plan by knowing, okay, we have 12 months in a year. I think of the year as quarters. So I do it by three. So
Okay.
I try to go on at least one self-care trip at
Mm-hmm.
least one time in each 3 quarters. So
Okay.
whether it's January, it might be late February. I prefer to travel towards the middle or the end of the month because that's what helps me financially. And I
Okay.
know a lot of people would need help with stuff like that. So it helps
Yeah.
me financially doing it that way.
Okay. And how long in advance do you budget for or plan out where you want to go and do your budgeting? Do you have places to go? Do you go to a B&B? How do you plan that, your trips?
So the way I plan my trips is a lot of them are arbitrary, meaning like on the whim.
Okay.
So like I can one thing about me, sometimes I sleep, sometimes I don't. So when I'm up at 3 a.m., I'm like, there's something you could be doing right now.
Okay.
So what I like to do, I go on Google Flights and I look at what's the cheapest place to go. Then I also read articles to see how the weather is in those locations with the cheapest flights. And once I do that, I book ahead. So sometimes I book a week ahead, or sometimes it could be 2 months in advance.
Okay.
So, and the cheapest one tip I'll say is the cheapest flights are normally on Tuesdays. I've noticed that it's normally Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Sundays are pretty hectic because people are trying to fly back into town right
Mhm.
before they have work that next following Monday. So I noticed
Okay.
that Tuesdays and Wednesdays are pretty cheap.
Okay. Nice. And then what is the best airline? What is your favorite airline that you use? Or you use
I
a
am very
different?
biased. I'm going to say United is the best. I've
Okay.
heard a few things in there, but I love United. I've never had trouble. I've never had a delayed flight with them. No, nothing.
Okay. Okay.
So they
Interesting. So for this year, how many solo trips have you done? How many trips? Where have you been to?
this year I've been on 3 solo trips. Two of them I only had to fly. One of them we drove.
Mhm.
The first one I went to Atlanta, Georgia at the end of March, and early June, the 1st of June, I went to Miami, Florida. And
Okay.
then just recently, like around September, I went to PA in Virginia.
Okay, nice, nice. And then within that, you also plan the level of activities. So you plan the trip and then you look around to see what activities and things you could go to while you're there, right? Or places to visit.
Yes, I what I try to do at the time is I think of where my mental state is at and what may require in order for my mental state to get better. I think of what does Kiana need to do to feel good. So whether that's taking a walk around town or going to a beach that's further out, because I enjoy being near nature and water. So typically that's what I like to do. And I try to go online and see what's their best food out there or cafe and stuff like that as well.
Okay, nice.
So that's what helps me create my plan.
Interesting. What started your self journey, your relationship with yourself, as we're talking about relationship with self? Because a lot of times we do not find young people your age um so in tuned and aware with themselves. So what started it for you?
What started it for me was one day I had really wanted to go on, what was it? Where did I want to go? Oh, I think it was Miami at the time. I
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really wanted to go to Miami. And everyone was like, oh, it's spring break. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. Let's go. Mind you, we discussed this in like November or December of the year prior, and spring break is normally around that March time of the next following year.
Mm-hmm.
So the time comes, we picked out the Airbnb and everything. And everyone is just like, oh, I don't have the funds right now. I can't go. I forgot to ask my parents and all this other stuff. And at that moment, I told myself, I will never be able to go anywhere if I'm waiting on other people.
Yes.
So that's when I picked up a trait of learning to get up and just go and see for yourself.
Yeah, and that's very, very important because lots of time, there is a lot of talk in terms of planning, especially when you're doing it with a lot of people, because sometimes our timing is not synced with theirs, and mindsets as well are not sometimes aligned. So there are times we have to just pick up and say, well, you know what, I'm going ahead. I'm doing this thing. But it can also be a fearful moment, one filled with a lot of anxiety for young people who are not used to going out there on their own. The world can be a very scary place. What do you think about, what would you say to young people in terms of overcoming that level of anxiety and fear?
Hmm. I would say to meditate before anything. Meditate and pray, or for some people who don't pray, you might want to start manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's initially where I started. I started manifesting things, and at first I noticed nothing was changing. And I said, why is nothing changing? But I keep asking the universe for these things, but nothing's changing. And I realized in order to get over things like anxiety and depression, you have to find the root of the problem and figure out yourself. So whether you talk to someone else, whether you get a therapist, or whether you read a couple of quotes to yourself every day or jot down your thoughts, try to figure out why you feel the way you do. And in certain moments when you're enjoying the moment, realize that's what you need to do in order to get over it. For me, what helps me is music. Music is worth 1,000 words to me. I'm very passionate about music. So
Mhm.
that's what helps me get through the airport with the luggage and stuff like that. Because my hardest part for me, it's funny, but it's not funny, but it's funny, was simply putting a tag on a suitcase. Everything else I can do, but I don't know why I always used to get stuck on putting the tag on the suitcase. So what got me through that was I would visually look at everyone else do it, and I'll make sure I have my headphones in, listen to music, and then boom, I had it down packed. My anxiety wasn't through the roof. I just told myself I'm always going to be fine.
Yeah, good,
So
good.
that's what got me through it.
So for those who don't know, Kiana is my office mate. We share an office. We had a little issue in the beginning for a little generation gap, but we're over that. But one thing I always say to Kiana, the way she speaks, a lot of things she does reminds me of brings me back to my daughters. And Kiana, you have your first fan. That daughter just sent me a text and she said, "When I grow up, I want to be just like her. I'm definitely going to be like her." Because she likes to travel as well. And she could be going just across the pond, but she has to be there 2 hours in advance. She stresses me out with regards to that because she wants to make sure her flight doesn't leave her. And she's just a year younger than you. So when she say when she grows up, it makes it look like she's so much younger. But it just comes to show that what you're doing is important, and there are so many young people that you can influence or just bring across a little word. Are you involved in any groups or anything that you have or a wider reach to in terms of sharing that level of passion with travel?
I would say my social media platform. I receive a lot of random messages from time to time from people like, hey, how much did you pay for this? How did you find the Airbnb? How did you find a hotel and things like that, excursions. So I always try to respond, and I give them a cost breakdown. I explain things to them. I tell them about the deals and things like that. So as far as a group, I would say social media is my group. I consider that
Okay.
to be my group.
And that's good that you are giving out this information. You charge? Do you charge? Is there a fee
No,
attached
free
or
of
you give
charge.
it free? Okay. Because it is yeah. And has anyone come back and give you any feedback that they have gone somewhere based on your recommendations or where they've seen you been to?
Yes, Atlanta. I got I had a really good feedback from that because she was so nervous because in Atlanta, I can understand why people are nervous in Atlanta. It's
Okay.
because like Atlanta is a very different environment. Atlanta has a stigma of a lot of young people there, which
Okay.
means they think things are more chaotic and things of that nature. But I always tell people, despite places being chaotic and stuff, there are other parts of
Mhm.
Atlanta. It's not just like one specific spot. And this girl says she went there with her mom and her best friend. I recommended some food spots for them. They loved literally everything. And they had a
Okay.
deal on their flight, so that was
Oh,
nice.
nice, nice, nice. Oh, interesting. What um what would be your target time frame to travel out of the country?
My target time frame. Hmm. I prefer like around March or so for traveling. March and April are my favorites. Also, I would say during the winter time because Jersey weather can be very cold. So
Yes.
you might want to go to some warmer weather. So I
Mm-hmm.
know so far from what I've heard, September and October, DR is amazing. I have to check that out this year coming up. Um, But yeah, for flights, yeah, I would say those 2 months or those two areas. Now, as far as flight times, this is something I always tell people because you don't want to sit at the airport all day.
Right.
Hotel and Airbnb check-ins are normally at 3 o'clock p.m. They want you out real quick when it's time to go, but when it's time to get there, the times for check-in is normally 3 o'clock. So I try to tell people to book a later flight,
Mm-hmm.
not too late, but at a decent, like a red eye flight is not bad to me. If people don't
Right.
know what red eye means, that means a late night flight.
Right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
like 7 o'clock p.m., 9 o'clock. I'm not really a fan of it. I'm more of a I want to get out first thing in the morning because a lot of the times what you can do is your room might be ready pretty early. So I
Okay.
would contact the hotel or Airbnb person and ask them, hey, can I come in a little bit earlier? A lot of them do not mind and it's free of charge.
Okay.
So the best time for flights would be between 7 and I would say 11 a.m. the latest.
Okay. And then you get there, you put your things in, and then you out the door exploring. What can you
Yes,
tell
pretty
us if
much.
what has been your most interesting experience?
Hmm. My most interesting experience would have to be when I went to Miami and I was just walking around just so carefree. No one bothered you. Everyone was very polite. Um, because also traveling as a colored person, a lot of people are a little scared of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I am going to say that's something I thought about, but then I'm like, it's just a skin color. People are going to be people. It is what it is. So for me, the most interesting experience was going to Miami and realizing that your skin color doesn't matter. Everyone out there is still respectful for the most part. They hold doors for you. When you walk in the store, you don't have somebody side eyeing you and following you around. If anything, they're helping you, they're finding things that you might like. So that was the most interesting experience for me.
So am I hearing you saying that when you're doing these experiences or going and do things in uncertainty, do your best to leave all the stigmatized aspect or of the society or biasness that you may hear about that exists in a particular area, and just be open-minded to certain experience, because how you bring yourself or how you present yourself, or also the thoughts that you have in your mind will impact or influence the level of your behavior, which in turn now will make people react to you. So having an open mind about things, you say, will help you to have a better experience. Is that correct?
Yes, because I think if you go into something with an expectation and you're not seeing it, you kind of don't know what to do with yourself in that moment. So you might get nervous. You might think, oh my gosh, is everyone looking at me? Is someone looking at me? And that's what draws the attention to you. So I always tell people, even when I first meet people, I try not to give a first impression or put people in a category. I take you for what you are, for what you present to me and what you're talking to me. I go by body language. I go by maybe some of the gestures that you make. So I would
Mhm.
say definitely go in open minded. Always keep an open mind when traveling. It will
Mhm.
lead you to more good than harm.
Okay, nice. How many times have you driven? You said once, right? You drove once and you flew other times. Yes? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What
hmm
was the driving experience like on the road, at the particular time you traveled?
The traveling, I don't know if I can do a road trip. Like I like to be a passenger person.
Mm-hmm.
But actually driving, and it was like around 7 o'clock a.m., 8 o'clock, that rush hour traffic. Oh my goodness, I was so over it. And mind you, PA is only a few hours away. Virginia is only a few hours away.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, would I do another road trip? Possibly, but I am not a fan of it. I would rather fly.
Okay. Well, I think you have guests. Um, do you know Brianna?
Yes, I do. I do
You
know
do? Okay,
Rihanna,
you
but I
know,
can't.
okay. They popped up in our backstage. It was supposed to pop up on the TDN link on what's on on YouTube. So just so they know, we will stream the YouTube and stuff link so they can also go follow us there. It's TDN Network, tdnradio.net, SBE Radio Toronto. At Instagram, they can go at TDN Radio Caribbean. On Facebook, TDNNT or TDN Radio Caribbean. And on YouTube.com, we have TDN Network 1 and V Streams on Roku. All right. So you can join us there and follow us and listen to Kiana talk about her passion about traveling and doing it solo, as well as allowing it to be part of your healing journey and your self-care journey. Is that you said that right? A big part of it.
Yes.
Tell us about your
Hmm.
self-care journey and your mindfulness.
My journey so far has been amazing. It's been an eye opener for me, only because at the time I was dealing with the loss of someone that was very close to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of gave me a drive and a motivation to travel even more because it's like you weren't able to travel. So now I feel like you're living through me and I have to get this done for not only me, but for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say my journey has been very healing, though. It feels good to get away and get a breath of fresh air. Like sometimes going to the park isn't just enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Traveling and seeing new people and talking to people at restaurants, building other connections with people. That's what gives me motivation to travel even more because I always believe you never know who you're going to run into.
Right,
And that
right.
may help you out if you want to further your career one day.
Do you believe in coincidences?
Um, yes, I do.
You do.
Sometimes I do. I just believe in divine timing. Like it's the right timing. It just so happened you were there. So yes, I do. I
Well,
do
then,
from
it
time to time.
divine timing may not necessarily come as coincidence because divine timing, coincidence is just like something that just
Mhm.
happens. But if we say it was divine timing, then it's coordinated by everything, the universe, everything coming together at the right time, the right
You to be
place.
there in them.
You have to be there
Hmm.
in that moment, yes. But for me,
Hmm.
particular, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe everything is timed. I believe everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And there is a particular word they call it. I cannot remember it right now. It's also synchronicities. There's a oh my goodness, I cannot remember the word either. I'm sure I'll remember it a couple of weeks days from now, and I'll let you know what it is. But that particular time when how things happen, when we meet who we have to meet, and then in that particular moment, maybe it doesn't have to serve for this moment, but it's like a seed planted, and you have to end up coming back 10 years from now. Oh, I know this person, or that person shared that with me, but that experience comes back full circle in something that you do with your life or contribute to something that's an idea, contribute to you furthering yourself in different ways, you know. Um, in your self-care journey, what does it look like now for you in rippling out to the people that you surround yourself with?
Um, it is my. I think my self journey is teaching me to get rid of dead leaves at this point in time. A lot of friendships and relationships you begin to outgrow, I believe, as you get older. And I like to say, as your frontal lobe starts developing, you learn that some people are in your life to just be distractions. And
Mhm.
if you really are striving for something in life, the universe is telling you to get rid of those distractions because if you don't, you're going to be stagnant and you're always going to be taking 10 steps back. So that's what I think I'm learning at this point in life.
And that's a
Am I doing
very, 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 very important lesson. 2 days ago, I had this status which says December, you're decluttering, detach,
it? Hmm.
and take away from your contact links. Decontact. I can't. Sometimes I miss my words, but you get the idea. It's very, very important that I believe very much in that as a constant process. Um, you look at the people who add value to your life, and there are
Yes.
people who's it's a common thing that is said, but sometimes we say a lot of things just because it's trending, but there is so much depth in it that people come into our lives for a season and a reason, and when that season and reason has been fulfilled, then it's time to move on. But sometimes we are so attached to people and attached to things. It comes really, really hard emotionally and psychologically to let things go and to let people go. How do you deal with that in your detaching phase? How do you deal with letting people go that probably have meant a lot to you?
Um, for me, I learned to train my mind to be stronger than my heart because sometimes my heart will put me in situations that I shouldn't be in. But if I'm thinking logically, I know this is not good for me. So once I learned to do that, it became easier. And I believe everything is a lesson. Even if it's something that's horrible, you probably learn never to do it again.
Right.
But for me, the law of detachment is very important. Just very logic wise. I make a pros and a cons list sometimes. I really have to. And I also just say a prayer and I ask the universe to remove things that are not meant for me. And that's another thing. The universe will tell you to get rid of someone, and you're fighting it like, no, I don't need to do it. And something happens, and you're like, dang, I should have did it.
Yes.
So I
But
don't
you have
like
to be in
living.
tune as well with the universe. You have to
Yeah.
be in tune and ask, what is the lesson in that situation? Because if you're not at that maturity stage, you're going to miss it, right? Do you think so?
Yes, but also I believe if it's meant for you, it will also come back at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
It can be 2 months from now, 10 years from now. It just might come back if it's meant for you or if things are aligned to be that way. But if
Yes.
not, you have to let it go. I'll tell
Oh,
people this all the time. Let it go. I know it's not easy though. You're going to go back a couple of times, but at some point, I always believe people become sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same exact
same
thing
thing.
happening. So you
Right.
let it branch off.
You said that you train your mind. Could you give us some steps on the process you went through in training your mind to detach your heart from your mind, separate them in terms of making rational, logical decisions, which you know will be more beneficial to you, because that's not an easy process. We go through our whole life sometimes working to do that. At such a young age, how have you been able to achieve that?
I achieved that by learning to say no.
Mhm.
That I know that's one of the hardest steps, and that's a really hard first step to make. But I learned to say no, especially financially. I learned to say no. And when I realized, okay, you're starting to save up a lot more and you can do what you really want to do in life, you have to learn to say no. And the more I kept realizing, okay, my money shouldn't go here, my money could go into better things. Or if my energy, because also I'm an energy person. So I believe even if you know you're not into the universe and things like that, you know when you're having a bad day, when your energy is slightly off after you had a
Mhm.
long day. If my energy is off, I can no longer put energy into something. Once
Right.
I'm drained, I'm done. So
Yes.
that is what helped me train my mind to be stronger than my heart. Because I also learned two things can coexist at the same time. I can tell you no, but it doesn't make me a bad person. I still have a good heart because if it
Right.
really came down to it, you can always call me. I can always help you.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people who I haven't talked to in years who reached out like, "Hey, Kiana, I kind of need to talk. I don't really feel comfortable talking to other people. This is eating me up." And I go, "All right, we can have a simple conversation." So it also takes a level of maturity to train your mind to be stronger than your heart.
Oh, it takes a lot of maturity, a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, a lot of willpower to
Mm.
say no to yourself and to say no to other people. And before we go up to the break, I'll just sum this up too, because one thing I always said, I use the analogy when children are small, and that is where we learned that about us being selfish, that we don't have to say no. And for me as a parent, I totally flip that over for my kids. Because if I bought a new toy for my children and they have guests and they're playing with their toy for the first time, why do they have to share? It's their toy. So it's okay. They can say no. It's okay. And I tell people it's okay to be selfish, because then you're teaching no not only as as a boundary, as also as an early form of teaching your children how to protect their mental health and their mental well-being.
Mm.
And people say, "Oh, your self is fine." Yeah, thank you. That's okay. It's not, nothing is wrong with being selfish. It's perfectly fine. It's not being selfish in terms of sharing. It's being selfish in terms of your time, in terms of your space, and in terms of your mental health. And when we come back, we're going to visit this. You spoke about the law of detachment, which is that is where it's funny that you say that. That was one of the first things I did or went through on my awareness journey, the seven spiritual laws of success of Deepak Chopra. And on that, we're going to take a break and we're going to come right back with Kiana Sanders, our young travel enthusiast. Stay tuned.
A smart house run by a vengeful AI, a mute witness to an act of unspeakable evil. A breadfruit thief is haunted. A young man unwittingly creates a god. Giant crapos terrorize a community. A witch seeks revenge on her neighbors, and much more. The Piton Noir Writing Collective is thrilled to announce the release of the third book in their acclaimed anthology series, The Flying Crapo. Flying Crapo, Heroes and Monsters. Now available for purchase on Amazon.com. Get your copy today and embark on a journey filled with heroes, monsters, and the magic of the Caribbean. Get ready for an electrifying thriller. A fearless New York attorney takes on corrupt corporate giants fighting for the powerless. Can this seasoned attorney and his team take down a monstrous company and its powerful leader? What will be the final verdict? What price will our heroes pay? Find out as you turn the pages of The Trust by Sam George. Get your copy of The Trust today from Amazon.com.
Thank you. Remember to buy your book, The Trust, by our own producer, Sam George, and he's onto big and better things too. So if you stay tuned with us on TDN Network, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Roku, you'll see the great things that's happening at TDN Network. And remember, it's not a big thing. We can always reach out to people. You have an idea, you want to do things, reach out, talk about it. Sometimes we are afraid to talk about our ideas. People tell us, do not talk about your ideas because somebody else is going to steal it from you. Nobody can steal what you have in your heart. They may think they have the idea. Well, ideas is a universal thing, but how you do it, how you execute it is going to be your own unique way, your own unique style. Speak to people because you never know where that network or where that connection is going to be to help you write that book, to help you write that song, to help you reach that next rung in the ladder for your success. Yeah. And that's where we are at now with Miss Kiana Sanders. We're going to bring Kiana back on to tell us before we go into the seven, we will round up our conversation talking about the laws of success because as she brought it up there, I'm going to pick her brain about it. But we're going to talk to Kiana about safety trips with all what is going on right now in the world around us. Young people may be afraid to travel. Now, we have spoken about overcoming that level of anxiety and fear and put a little bit of courage in our step and in our pep. Well, what are the safety tips do you give to people, young people in particular? Because young people are vulnerable. If we had looked at that movie with this it's not Van Damme. Oh my goodness, I love this guy so much, and I cannot remember when his daughter had gone to Paris with a girlfriend and they kidnapped her. What is his name? I see in his face one of those cute actors with the ponytail behind. Anyway, he went into Paris to look for his daughter to find her because one of the things, as soon as they came off from the um the airport, someone offered them a taxi to bring them wherever. Taken. Thank you, my daughter. Taken. That's the name of the movie. Taken, and offered them to take them a little sightseeing and everything else. But what they did not know, these people are already out in the airport lounge scoping to see who their most vulnerable targets are and take them. And they were taken as sex slaves and things like that. And this sex trafficking and human trafficking is very real. How do you, what do you suggest or recommend in terms of being aware of your surroundings and making sure that you are okay?
For me, little tips and tricks for me is before I leave, I always write down exactly which Airbnb or hotel that I'm going to. Um, we have this thing called share locations. I share with at least 1 to 3 people. Another thing I do is I try to walk on the busy side of the streets.
Okay.
So if I'm on one sidewalk by myself, but I see about 8 other people across the street on that sidewalk, I'm going to go across the street and walk along with the 8 people.
Mhm.
Um, I try not to go to any places that are near like dark alleyways and stuff like that. And yes, just always be mindful. I know that can be very repetitive, but just watch your surroundings. Don't take anything from strangers. I don't care what it is. If you're at a restaurant and oh, this guy at the bar bought you a drink, you need to watch them make that drink before you drink and receive it. Or
Mhm.
you can easily tell the bartender, "Hey, toss it. Just give me water instead," and they will do that if you feel unsafe. So yes, those are my tips and tricks personally. Also for Airbnbs and hotel rooms, they have this alarm sounding system that I believe you can order on Amazon or like TikTok shop and stuff. So it's like a chain type of thing that you put on the door, connects to the handle. When
Yeah.
someone tries to open it, the alarm goes off and it's very loud, like super
Mhm.
loud. I also recommend that.
So that, what about Miss? Do you have that in your travel kit? Do you have mace in your travel
No,
kit?
I do. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. All right. So talking about be aware of your surroundings. What about transportation? Do you use more public transportation than you'd use Uber and Lyft and things like that in a foreign place?
For the most part, I do use Ubers and Lyfts, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to start getting more into taking buses and trains just to get the feel for it.
Okay.
So I do want to start getting into that.
Okay. Interesting. Um what would be your suggestion in talking to adults when adults see young people going and traveling and doing things like that? Did you get much resistance from adults in where paranoia may set in terms of you shouldn't be doing this, or what? Maybe I should say, what's the level of support you have gotten in encouraging you to go out there and doing your thing?
For me, I would say I had support for the most part. The only one that gave me an issue was my grandmother. She's a Southern woman, so
Mm.
oh my goodness, you going there all by yourself? What you gonna do out there? And it was just like, all right, come on, cut me some slack. But for the most part, I always believed that my parents knew that I always had to do something, whether it was moving around or seeing different things and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So my mother would always just say, be careful. I know you're going to be safe. I know you're going to do the right thing. So I think a lot of my support comes from just simply having trust with my parents.
And trust is
Once
a
you gain that level, yeah, trusting is something that, you need to gain and earn to really have with your parents.
go a
So
little
that's
bit
what helped
into
me a
that
lot.
for us because we have a lot of um one of the things of the aims and objectives of this program, because we have a mixed audience. It is really targeted for young persons, but all and also for the adults in yours lives, to be able for us to override these generational gaps so we can understand each other and provide the level of support that you will need. But when it comes to trust, a lot of older parents, because they did not have that level of upbringing by their parents, they may not necessarily know how to bring that or develop that relationship with their children. What was it for you and your parents that you can share with our adult audience in developing that relationship with their children?
Um, a way for me to develop that relationship was I would start off small. So, like going to the movies with friends or maybe going out to a party or something. I would always make sure I checked in with my parents. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to call me, they didn't have to try and find me because they already knew where I were. I would even do things like text them an ETA, like, oh, ETA 7 o'clock. If they gave me a curfew for 9 o'clock, I would purposely be home at 7:45 and be in the bed by 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So little small tricks like that is what got them to go, okay. Because the thing is, and I just thought about this, it's not that parents don't trust their kids, they don't trust the people outside, meaning the public.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not
That's
necessarily that you don't trust your child, you don't trust the other people around your child and you don't want them to harm your child.
that's a
But
very, very good point.
because people are ridiculous, people are always going to be crazy, and
And then people
for
have their own
me,
agenda, you know. There are
yes,
people who can be your friends, but they may, as parents, we will always have the your best interests at heart. We do not know about
mm-hmm,
other people out there because people will always be looking out for themselves, no matter how much they say they love you. Or parents are naturally cynical. That's just it. You know, that nobody out there is as good enough to protect our children as we would do. Or look out for your best interest. So that's a very, very good point that you made with regards to parents do not trust whoever is out there. However, on the flip side, you made a very good point that you made it your responsibility to build that trust. But nowadays, we have a lot of influences in our young people, and because of the hormones and everything else going on in the lives of adolescents in particular, there is this resistance within them own selves. They want to be an adult, but they still want to be treated as children. And then they have these conflicts going on within themselves. And if a parent wants to know where they're at, they figure you just want to be in my business, or I need some space, I need some privacy. And the way the society is going on, there is this thing about privacy for young people. What is your take on that with regards to the level? What is the limit of privacy that parents should give a child?
See, I think this generation tends to confuse the two. So I do believe in privacy, but also there's a difference between privacy and a secret. So I don't believe you should hide anything from your parents for the most part, but I like to say omit the truth. So tell just enough. Now, once you develop that relationship, then you might can go in with the full story. Just depends. But I believe it all comes from boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Um a lot of people may deal with the thought of being judged and or getting a lot of backlash, but little do you know, letting it out and telling that secret that you're holding in, you're building a bond with your parent little by little. Whether
Mm-hmm.
you may see it or not, even if your parent may yell at you when you first tell them something, before they go to bed at night, they're thinking about it. And then the next day, they have to call an aunt or something like that and discuss it. But
Mm-hmm.
I believe they start coming along and they think, wow, my child trusted me enough to tell me this information.
Mm-hmm.
So it opens up a bonding relationship there.
And some parents have to recognize that for what it is as well, because when a child opens up to us, it's a big deal, because it takes a
Yes.
lot for a child to open up and share something. Because one of the things I told my kids when they were younger was that it doesn't matter if you feel you did something wrong. I'm the only one who really has your back. So even though you do something wrong and I'm gonna whip you, but no, I'm the one. I will whip you, but then I'll go whip those people and stand up and defend you with everything that I've got, because I'm the only one that has your back. But if you don't tell me the truth, I will never know how to defend you. Even though you're wrong, I wouldn't know how to get you out of that situation. But I need to know the truth. And when I tell people, I and I know I'm not putting my foot in my mouth because I know they're listening. I know they're honest with me. I know my children are honest with me. They may not tell me everything, like you said. I have a younger one that tells me just enough, and I have to probe and have to probe. But one of the things I have to learn to do as well as a parent is to let go. And lately, this has been one of my challenges because they're 20 and 23 years old. They've been my babies for all their lives, and but I have to learn how to step back and how to let go. And that's been hard. So sometimes parents, we get overpowering and overwhelming and want to be intense and want to be in your business. But it's because that you're 10 now at that age where you're going your own way and we do not know how to let it go or let you go your own way. And it's like you doing your own traveling. It's a bit of letting go because it takes a lot for a parent to see their child go. My younger daughter travels a lot. Every time she goes, it's like I'm praying until the day she gets back. One time I didn't get, and the sharing thing is very important, and parents need to know too that the sharing doesn't go one way; it goes both ways, because
Mhm.
for you all to trust us, we have to let you trust us in terms of we have to share with you too. We have to be honest. We have to learn how to say, I'm sorry. How can I do better? Because you know best how for somebody to treat you. And Also, one of the things in our conversations, which I think we have a common agreement on, we teach people how to treat us. And if we do not know how we need to be treated, people are going to take advantage of us. Do you agree with that?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
So it takes a lot, it takes a lot, it takes a lot. And we parents have to give that. We have to give, we have to give, we have to give in order to receive from our kids. It's really, really good. You can see the level of stability in different children or different adults when they have the level of stability in a good relationship, child, a parent child relationship. And it helps a lot in terms of developing confidence and having a certain level of confidence in yourselves. And I see it very a lot in you in terms of how you carry yourself, the way you speak to the residents at work, the way you carry yourself. And sometimes it is rather impressive when we see young people have that certain level of confidence and have that certain level of, there's an aura that tells people, okay, this is my space and this is my boundary. Step back, you know. And I commend you as a young person, um, for having that at such a young age. And just this week, I was yesterday in one of my sessions with one of the residents. I was explaining that like you are at the right age because you sit down there and you hear me. My favorite thing to bring across is counseling. You cannot go through life not knowing, not being healed of all the trauma and experience you had before, because then that is a subconscious barrier or a net pulling you back and preventing you from going forward because you do not even know what is making you behave the way you behave. And going and sit down and talking to someone will always, always, always help. And if you kind of talk to someone, you mentioned earlier about meditating and thinking and self reflecting, how did that journey start for you in terms of energy and dealing to energy and mindfulness and understanding who you are as a person?
what led me to that was because a lot of people need an outlet. So at the time, my outlet was playing sports. But then I realized I don't like doing this. I don't have a passion for this anymore. So one thing I used to do was draw.
Mm.
So once I started drawing, I'm like, okay. So I started drawing like little figures and stuff, and that eventually just led to me writing.
Okay.
So as I wrote everything out, I'm just like, I feel so much better
Mm-hmm.
because I knew I always had someone to talk to, but I wanted to try to figure things out for myself.
Okay.
Nobody will ever be able to fully tell you about you but you.
Very true.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's what led to me writing. Then I ended up getting into meditating because I started going to the beach.
Okay.
So when I would go to the beach, I would feel so peaceful just hearing the waves and the calm waters and things like that. So then I started meditating at the beach and trying to do yoga at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And after when I also have a self reflection journal. So
Okay.
how did my day go? What were the highs of the day? What were the lows of the day? So after my affirmations and then after I stretched and everything and I wrote that stuff down,
Mm-hmm.
I focused on what got me to my highest point and what I need to do a bit more. So
Okay.
that's what led to me meditating and writing things down.
And that takes you also to, after you travel, what is the routine that you have when you travel?
When I travel, I specifically have a travel journal. I have
Mm-hmm.
about 5 books because I have a book for almost every occasion or any different thing, all different
Okay.
colors. So when I travel, I try to write down if I have any anxieties on my way to the airport. I'm jotting down how do I feel, what am I the most nervous about, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I like to give myself another thing is I always go to the airport hours early. I don't care if I only live around the corner. I go hours early. That way I can sit there and relax. And also, most of the time, there's somebody that's getting on the same flight as me and they
Mm-hmm.
just want somebody to talk to, whether it's business related stuff. So I'm all about building connections.
Okay.
So talking to other people, it helps me for my flight,
Okay.
or listening to my music also helps.
Mm-hmm.
It gets me in a mode or a mood of you can do it. You're almost on your flight. Just get on.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make it there. I always tell myself, don't go, what if I don't make it? No, no. Tell yourself you're going to make it there. You're going to have an amazing time.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is going to stop you on your trip. And
Mm-hmm.
once I do that, everything just flows from there.
And then
So
do
I think,
you have a time where you go back over those journals and see, okay, I was anxious about this. How do I overcome it next time? Or what do I do differently?
yes, if I'm going on the same trip again, I'll go back and look like, okay, I had fun doing that, but why didn't I like this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll read up on it and I go, okay, maybe I can retry this again and
Mm-hmm.
let's see how it works out. Because sometimes when you first go on a trip, things are not always the greatest. Maybe if you went to a restaurant, the service wasn't good because you caught them on a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are going to have bad days, service are going to be bad on some days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try to go back. Atmosphere is totally better. It's
Mm-hmm.
really different. And yes, I like to self reflect and reread to know, okay, what do I enjoy doing the most on these trips? And I found that I like to walk around like their little towns a lot. I like to
Mm-hmm.
try the little coffee shops on the corner and things like that, and
Mm-hmm.
look for like any art walls they have because I love taking pictures. So I try to find an art wall. And then also, sometimes if you see a really nice mural or something, they'll
Mm-hmm.
leave like their TikTok handle or Instagram handle. So
Okay.
sometimes I end up on social media and I go into a loophole and I go, wow, they take pictures. They take a lot of pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And I create a message for those pictures. And it reminds me of a certain time in life.
Okay.
So that's what I do.
Could you give us a little certain time in life message that you would for yourself? Give us an example of one of those art walls that you've seen in your travels.
What was one of the murals? Hmm. I wonder if I have the picture on my phone. I remember it. It was a picture of an eyeball, and it was like birds flying around it at the top, but at the bottom, it was just like a poor village, and they put words around it. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do this, it's never going to happen, and stuff like that. So, when I first looked at it, I said, that's a harsh piece. Like, why would you want to? But then I looked again and I said, oh, I see the bigger picture. Look up, keep looking forward, never look back, and don't look down. That message correlated with me at the time because this is when I first started traveling and
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of naysayers.
Okay.
And this also helped me learn do not tell everyone your plans.
That's
So
so
everyone
very
was like,
true.
everyone's like, don't do it. Oh, you're not going to do it. You're really going to go on a flight by yourself. Just like, what is wrong with people? Like, why can't we just all be happy that I'm doing something? And I said, okay, not everyone is going to be happy. So in that moment, it reminded me and it told me, like, don't tell everyone your plans. If you want to do something, get up and do it. Don't think about, oh, what if this go wrong? What if that? Just get up and do it and have a
Mhm.
good time doing it.
That is so very true. And then it brings us right along now to Deepak Chopra's laws of success. Where did you first come in contact with the laws of success? Because you spoke about the law of detachment, which is very, very real. And as we were saying, it's very hard for certain people. What I used to do each day, because he has a day for each law for a whole year plus. That's where I started. I practiced that particular law on that particular day to help me to develop my own level of awareness and everything else. And the law of detachment is the most particular difficult one for anyone to accomplish. How did you get through this one?
Oh, honestly, I just let things flow. I learned to let it be. Like for me, it was like, okay, like you can't control everything. Cause I had this thing in my mind where I call myself a fixer. So I do
Uh-huh.
watch Scandal a lot and I related to her a lot. So I looked at myself as a fixer because whenever
Uh-huh.
someone was in trouble with something, whether it's financially, emotionally, oh, Kiana, can you do this? Kiana, can you? And it would get done. It would be fixed. It's handled.
Mhm.
But I learned not everything is meant to be fixed. These things are happening to people repeatedly and to you
Mhm.
repeatedly
Mhm.
because something within you needs to change. You cannot be fixed. You just need to change yourself.
Mhm.
So that's what helped me learn to let things flow. Because
And
I'm not in a predicament for a reason. You are. I don't
mhm.
have a lesson to learn from that. You are. You do. So the
Mhm.
lesson to you is learn to try to get through it first and try other things and do things differently before you come to another person to save you each and every time. And it taught me to stop being so available for people that wouldn't pour the same energy into me and help me out.
Mhm.
So I learned to become very selective as well.
Mhm. Yes, that's these are so um many important, you shared so many important guidelines and boundaries that a lot of young people as struggle with. Self-care, saying no, um having the level of confidence in yourself, not sharing everything you have with other people, detaching, decluttering, and staying away from certain things and that's going to bring your energy, going to affect your energy. And these are very important principles that young people should incorporate in their daily lives. A lot of it is people are still going through a lot of peer pressure in terms of following the crowd. Have you ever been a following the crowd kind of person?
Honestly, no.
I can see that.
Like I couldn't do it. Like it's not that I'm a disobedient person, but I just cannot follow certain rules. Like even growing up and going to school and we had to wear uniforms. They told us,
Mhm.
"Oh, you can't wear different color hoodies. You got to wear school sweaters." And I'm just like, "This is boring. I look like everyone else."
Mhm.
So I started
Mhm.
things like wearing different color socks or mix matching the shoes with colors and wearing suspenders and different color glasses because I always needed my own spin and touch on things.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
following the crowd has never been my thing because it's
Yes.
just like if I follow you, I have a feeling it's going to lead me somewhere I don't want to be.
Very, very true. Very true. And as we wind down our conversation for tonight, what are three pieces of advice would you give to young people, your peer group?
I would tell people take time away from social media or just take time off your phone, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's for 2 hours a day, 8 hours a day. Take that time away because I think a lot of people can be easily influenced. They see these celebrities or popular artists going this place and that place, spending thousands of dollars. You don't have that same money right now. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. And two, things are not always what they seem. You can easily post a picture of money and it not belong to you.
Right.
So don't get so caught up into social media. A second piece of advice I would say is never think you're too old or it's too late to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you still have if you still are breathing, you have time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
People think, oh, I need this by 21, I need this by 25, and when it doesn't go that way, they feel like a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate when people think that, but I can see why they think that because they see people in their age brackets doing way more.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their own timing and their own path. Believe
Mm-hmm.
in your own journey. You're on your journey for a reason.
Right.
You don't want to fill someone else's shoes because you don't know what they went through to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're taking a safer route and it's coming to you. You just don't see it yet. But when you get there, you're going to be proud that you waited your turn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So never feel like it's too late to do anything or you're behind. And for a third piece of advice, accept what you cannot change or it will destroy you. That is
Nice.
my favorite advice to give people.
Great. Great stuff. Great.
And
And for the
yeah,
adults like me, what you'll tell me.
um,
Adults and parents.
advice I would say not even just trust your kid, but let your kid find themselves.
Mhm.
So I know parents try to protect as much as possible because no one will ever care about you more than your parents. You can care about yourself, obviously, but your parents, that's a different level of care and support. But yes, I would say learn to, let your child breathe a little bit, try to give them the space, find a way to create that boundary.
Mhm.
Because if a parent doesn't create that boundary with their child to have some sort of freedom, be able to get away,
Mhm.
that child is forever going to remember that and they may hold it against you. So I know a lot of people that has happened to, and I'm just like, yo, you have to give your parents a chance. Like, you don't understand because you're not a parent yet.
Mhm.
So yes, I would say give your kid that freedom to do what they need to do. And
Number
yes,
two.
another piece of advice. hmm, This is kind of for like babies. It can go for teenagers if you wanted to, but like for example, I would just say that advice would just be if you see your child is passionate about something, try to help them grow on that. So I always say, for example, when you see a kid pick up a phone or something and they automatically go to the camera, don't snatch the phone away from them and say, "Oh, you taking up my storage" or something like that. No, this kid likes taking photos. This child may be into photography or art. They might want to
Right.
draw or write down what they've seen.
Definitely.
So I
Yeah.
will always, they are passionate, help them grow on it because that builds a very strong relationship.
Very
And they
much
might
so.
be the next Picasso. We never know.
Never know.
So I will always say, yeah. And for the third piece of advice for an adult, um, hmm, third piece of advice for an adult, I would say, hmm, learn to adapt. They always say, "Oh, all my babies are leaving the nest. What am I gonna do?" I always say, just learn to adapt. They're
To
not.
create your own
Yes, they
life.
branched off.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because when I think as a parent, sometimes they get so caught up in their child's life that they don't feel stable enough without their children around. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to have a strong bond with your children, but at some point, you don't want to lose yourself all because someone left the nest at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always say, learn to adapt. It's going to
That's
be very difficult, I'm pretty sure it is, but just learn to adapt and always believe that your child is always going to be around.
very poignant
Maybe
points coming from a
not.
young person. Very, very, very strong points coming from learn to adapt, learn to be flexible, learn to let go, encourage your children in their passion, even though it changes 10 times in a year.
Yes.
Yeah. And have in terms of developing that bond with your kids. And thank you so much for taking your time. I learned so much from just this little hour and a half you shared with us in terms of um, traveling, developing the level of confidence to be able to travel by yourself. And it's not only young people who are afraid to travel by themselves, there are some adults who are afraid to travel by themselves. So these are the tips you gave, especially the safety tips. Be aware of your surroundings, stay in crowded areas, don't take drinks from strangers. We hear that a lot, but still, be mindful there may be somebody checking you out. Don't just fall prey to someone offering, go to certified people, look at a policeman, ask for directions from a policeman. Although there are people who can be helpful, but make sure you take those levels, certain levels of precaution. And as you mentioned about also taking the public transportation, which is not only making you safe, but also helping you now immerse more in the culture and having this more overall experience. Um, yeah, so just before we go, what's the seven laws? I'm gonna come back to it. What is your other special law other than law of detachment? Is there another one that you like with regards to that you apply to your life?
Hmm. Not just yet, because the law of detachment took me so long.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I was just like, man, and I feel like it took like 2 years or so, maybe a little bit longer if I can remember. But the
Hmm.
law of detachment is very important. It's learning to let things be. You cannot control everything. Only control what you're responsible for at the time.
And learning to be in flow is also very a hard lesson to learn. Um, Things not going your way, you just let it go. Just allow it to be. And it can be hard because one of the things you mentioned, things may not be your time. Things happen. I had a very scripted life. I had to be this by a certain age. I wanted to have go all my family is very much into education. So at a certain age I wanted to go all the way up to having a PhD and stuff. And guess
Mhm.
what? Life happens. And at a
Yeah,
particular point, I had to let go and get down into myself. And that was my turning point with regards to meditation and becoming a yoga instructor and doing yoga and just changing my whole mindset and my whole flow as well. And learning to be in flow is like going up a river. That
yeah,
current is going to push you down. And you find you're going to be stagnant because you're trying to go upriver. The river is coming down now, you cannot move. But if you go in flow, you will find that the river now going to bring you right back full circle to where you want to be. Because
absolutely.
I believe that everything is as it should be. A lot of people don't believe that, but if you allow things to happen and if you put yourself in that mindset, you learn to strategize as you're going along because you live in the present moment and you're being in the moment. Not that you're not planning for the future, but when you live in the moment and you accept what is going on with you in the moment, there is such more of a depth of experience, of fulfillment, of peace. And for me, being in a peaceful space, you can deal with any chaos that's going on around you. And that is the most important
Yes,
thing. And you cannot be too young to experience that. So all the best to you and thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation as I do our little spits and stuff during the weeks as days as well. And you have so much to offer. You are a wonderful individual and it's even interesting hearing so much more depth that you have to offer. Thank you so much again and I wish you a wonderful night and see you soon.
all
And
right. Thank you so
and I
much for having me.
You're most welcome. And do enjoy your match and your spring trip. Have the most
Yes.
wonderful time. And maybe we'll have you on again to share some of those things. So tell us again your your Instagram and where we can find you and see some more information on your trips.
All of my social media handles are Kiana Monet. That is KIANAAMONAE. So that is Instagram and TikTok.
Instagram and TikTok. Alrighty. So we'll definitely look out for you and look out to and your entertaining travels and wish you all the best in building up your portfolio as you move along in life. Thank you so much for
Alrighty.
being with
Thank
us.
you so much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. You too, there. Have a good one. And as we round up with Kiana, I want to share something with you. Maya Angelou is one of my favorite poets and writers. She said, "You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anyone. You do not have to validate, you don't need validation from anyone. You don't need permission from anyone. You haven't got to prove yourself to anyone. You only have to prove yourself to yourself and be better today who you were yesterday. The only person you're competition in with is yourself to be better every single moment because we change, people do change. And who you were today, who you are today, is not who you were yesterday and is not who you will be tomorrow because opinions change. If you open yourself to new perspectives, don't be so close minded that you stick to an opinion. Learn facts, open yourself to reading, to politics, to the social situations that's going on, and be a holistic individual. Okay. And in the importance of self relationship, you need to have a healthy relationship with yourself to have, because that lays the foundation of all other relationships. It's about cultivating self awareness, self acceptance, and self love. We saw that in Kiana when she said about putting boundaries to herself, when she came up to that point and she realized no, she needs to set that word no. What do you have to do to put that level of self awareness, self mindfulness, and self love for your life? Because nobody is going to love you like you do. Nobody's going to love yourself. Nobody's going to be interested in who you are as a young person. All the friends you have along the wayside, if something happens to you, which one of those friends are going to stand by you? That's the value in relationship, and that's the value in self-love that you need to self-reflect on to see where you're going to go forward. Okay, so the key aspects of having a positive self-relationship, as we mentioned, having a good level of self-awareness, understanding your thoughts, journal, as she said, write down your emotions and your behaviors. Why am I behaving that way? There's nothing wrong in getting to a therapist or a counselor and seeing where you can get. Self-acceptance. This is who I am. Okay, yes, these are some habits I can change. What is it in these habits can I change? What relationships are damaged that I encourage? What was my participation level in that, where that relationship stopped growing or something went wrong? Self-compassion. You need to love yourself. And one of the things I always remind myself, I need to give myself grace. Sometimes especially when you're very determined and ambitious, we tend to be very hard on ourselves. Give yourself grace. Do your nails. Okay, if you haven't got that money, buy a kit. Buy a nail kit. What am I looking for? I was looking for my nail kit to show you all how I do my own nails. It's somewhere there. Anyway, it's somewhere there. Buy a nail kit. You can't afford it, do something different. Buy your own thing. Try to do it on your own. All right. Learn to forgive yourself when you do something wrong. It is okay. Tomorrow or next moment is another moment. You can do better. You will do better, and you will be okay. And self care. A spa moment, even if it's just to treat yourself for ice cream, do that. Love yourself in the moment. Love yourself in your fallen moments. Love yourself in your moments of depression. Love yourself. Give yourself grace. And that helps you to increase confidence, improve your mental health. You will see now that is reaching out to help you develop healthier relationships in those around you, and help you have a greater resilience in coping with the challenges and setbacks that you have. And it will help increase your level of self-awareness. So do that. You're only doing it for you, not for anybody else. You're doing it for you. And in all of that, we want to wish you a good night. See you next week with another awesome guest on the Youth Effect. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Roku, all right, on TDN Network, Radio Caribbean, TDN Radio Caribbean, TDN Network 1, and as well, email us with your thoughts and your ideas and your suggestions on the Youth Effect 767 at gmail.com. I'm Kathy Robinson, and I'm wishing you a lovely, lovely evening. I want to thank Kiana so much for being our guest tonight. And if you have any suggestions on being a guest, send it to us. Thank you so much for being a wonderful, wonderful audience and being the supportive people that you are, coming back every Monday to be there with us. See you again next week and have an awesome week. Thank you. Good night.
Look at where you're going. Keep that passion growing. You the heartbeat of a world in motion. So rise up, speak out, start the revolution. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, y'all hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar. The youth effect, we're raising up. The youth effect, y'all hold us down. The youth effect, we breaking ground. The youth effect, they gonna hear us roar.